Secret War, The Belgian Hit List, a documentary that delves into the covert operations and history that have defined Belgium's covert terrain. We'll go into the shadows, uncovering intriguing tales of espionage, covert missions, and an unnamed kill list that holds the key to a dark chapter in Belgian history. Prepare for an enthralling examination of secrets, intrigue, and untold stories that have occurred behind closed doors. Let's get this started. The Secret War was a 6-part BBC television series developed in collaboration with the Imperial War Museum, IWM, that explored secret technological breakthroughs throughout WW2. It debuted in 1977 and was hosted by William Woolard, who drew on first-hand accounts from players on both sides. R.V. Jones was the primary interviewee, and his autobiography influenced much of the study prior to its publication. Mussorgsky's pictures at an exhibition provided the opening music. The BBC Radiophonic Workshop provided the closing music. Episode 1: The Battle of the Beams. This episode detailed how British intelligence became aware of several Luftwaffe navigation beams such as Knickebein, Excurate, and Weigeret, as well as the countermeasures devised to defeat them in the Battle of the Beams. It is largely based on Jones's novel, Most Secret War, which is included in the series. The episode includes rare Blitz footage, particularly the Coventry Blitz. Albert Speer, Sir Robert Cockburn, and Air Vice Marshal Edward Addison are among those interviewed. Episode 2: To Sea for 100 Miles. This chapter traces the history of radar from its inception to the development of the chain home system in time for the Battle of Britain and the following development of the cavity magnetron. The show then goes on to detail how British intelligence learned about German radar technologies such as Freya, Würzburg radar systems, and the Bruneval raid to seize a Würzburg system. It also includes information on the RAF bomber offensive electronic warfare with the Luftwaffe, which employed systems such as Window, G, Oboe, H2S, and airborne interception radar. Episode 3: Terror Weapons. This chapter delves at the evolution of Adolf Hitler's retribution weapons, how British officials became aware of the threat, and what steps were made to prevent and postpone their use. It includes interviews with Jones, Duncan Sandys, Albert Speer, Constance Babington Smith, Roland Beaumont, Janis Groskowski, and Raymond Baxter, as well as unique film of the Vi-1 flying bomb, the V-2 rocket, and Operation Hydra, the bombing of Peenemünde, and details of Operation Most 3. Episode 4: The Deadly Waves. This episode examines the magnetic mine and the countermeasures developed to overcome it, such as degaussing, and includes an interview with Lieutenant Commander John Ouvry of HMS Vernon, who defused the first intact German magnetic mine recovered by the Allies on the sands of Shoeburyness, the mine that he recovered being featured in an episode reenactment. Episode 5: If. This episode depicts some technologies that never became operational or whose deployment was severely delayed, leaving one to speculate on what may have happened. Various contraptions intended to help the invasion of Normandy, including the Panjandrum and Pluto, the Bachstelze autogyro, early helicopters, British and German bouncing bomb developments. Episode 6: Still Secret. This episode tells the story of the Enigma machine and the Lorenz cipher, as well as how, after valuable early work by the Polish intelligence service Biuro Cyfro (BS4) and the French, the codes were broken at Bletchley Park, including some information on the Colossus computer that was still classified at the time the program was created. It describes how the codes were broken and how the data was used. Concurrently, the neglect of First World War archive collections in Belgium came to an end. All of this provides for a relatively confident summary of what we know and don't know about Belgium's Great War, as well as how it relates to the war as a whole. Belgium was the most densely populated state in the world in 1914, with as many people as Canada, 7.6 million, on a little terrain. It drew a lot of attention because it was so condensed and complex. The German historian Karl Lamprecht, 1856 to 1915, dubbed it a microcosm of Europe, while the French sociologist Henri Chariot, 1873, labeled it a compressed social laboratory for the new century. Belgium has risen to become the world's 4th commercial power between 1894 and 1914. Antwerp, the continent's most important port, was connected to Central Europe by rail. Belgium imported raw materials and exported half-finished goods such as railroad rolling equipment. Belgian capital poured into emerging markets. with the capture of Leopold II, King of the Belgians, 1835 to 1909. Congo Free State, an area 80 times the size of the metropole, subjected to homicidal pillage of human labor and natural resources in 1908, Belgium had become a colonial power. Belgian state power over the Congo ended this regime while staying essentially exploitative and becoming increasingly profitable, even although systematic extraction of mineral resources didn't begin until the 1920s. Meanwhile, the metropole opened up to the world with massive infrastructure projects. The new port of Zeebrugge, the canal harbor of Brussels, linked to the world's densest railway network at the time, while a network of small-gauge lines allowed for widespread commuting, keeping even the largest cities mid-sized. Belgium was also the world's sixth industrial power. In 1913, industry employed half of the active population. The resulting affluence was unevenly distributed. The labor market was hampered by low pay and long hours. A plural franchise that gave educated and/or propertied men extra votes impeded change. In April 1913, a massive 10-day walkout spearheaded by the Belgian Workers' Party resulted in a promise of revision which was cut short by the onset of the war. Change was also in the air about the language issue. In 1910, a tiny majority of Belgians, 54%, spoke mostly or solely Flemish, Dutch rather than French. French remained the language of government, education, and social striving in general. This prompted supporters of Flemish language rights, often known as the Flemish Movement, a loose coalition of interest groups rather than a formal party, to advocate for a Dutch language-only university in Ghent, thereby decoupling social mobility from verfrancing, Frenchification. Belgium, which was prosperous and open to the rest of the globe, was in a vulnerable position as international tensions rose. Recognizing that neutrality would no longer suffice, Prime Minister and Minister of War Charles de Broqueville, 1860 to 1940, initiated a readiness drive that culminated in an August 1913 law requiring universal conscription. While it has long been considered that Belgian society on the eve of the war was unreservedly anti-militaristic, this statute, as well as other militarizing initiatives, were welcomed with acceptance. This helps to contextualize Belgium's attitude to the onset of the war. Secret War. The Belgian hit list reveals a captivating tapestry of clandestine operations, providing us with a deep grasp of the secret narratives that formed Belgium's history. As the film peels back the layers of secrecy, it not only sheds light on the mysterious world of espionage, but it also encourages reflection on the difficult balance between national security and the need for transparency. What do you think of all the drama? Feel free to leave your theories in the comments section below. To be notified of new videos, subscribe to this channel and click the bell button if you enjoy this type of content. That's all for today. Stay tuned for more riveting videos. Goodbye till next time.